When I first began my transition, I embraced femininity with a raw passion, with a vigor went unchallenged by any other action I've partaken in basically my entire life. And it's mostly because while I was bisexual, femininity and my comfort in expressing it and my comfort in displaying it was not really something that I allowed myself to do. And once I realized I was trans, once I realized I was non-binary gender fluid, I did everything I could. I put on makeup. I did my nails. I started dressing in more feminine outfits. I tried doing voice training. Looking back, I definitely presented more feminine in those first few months of my transition than I do now, despite being like a year and a half in. And I think it's because in those initial months, femininity was this vast expanse of gender yet to be explored. But now it's been 1.5 years or so, and my gender exploration is kind of evened out. I've realized what I like, I realized what I don't like, and I've kind of reached this interesting point of androgyny. I still like wear skirts and like fishnets and dresses on occasion, but I don't necessarily chomp at the bit for the next occasion that I do so. It used to be like I would just take any excuse at all to wear a skirt. Going out for drinks, skirt. Doing laundry, skirt. Going to the Ren Fair, skirt. Going grocery shopping, skirt. And now I just kind of dress a bit more casually in a way that I think suits my style a lot better and suits my comfort a lot better. And by default, that means I'm dressing a little bit less feminine. And I do have feminine habits I've incorporated into my daily life. I still wear makeup, but just I don't stress as much about it as I used to. The ritual of HRT and makeup and certain aspects of womanhood being incorporated into my wardrobe have sort of just become part of my androgyny, and I'm really happy about that. I had the time to explore my gender, and I realized that like being androgynous is more so my current aim. So I was briefly on the feminine side of the spectrum of gender, and now find myself more in the middle where I feel comfortable. And I kind of wonder, like, is that because I found all the femininity I needed and then rejected the excess? Or is it because I started to miss masculinity? Interestingly enough, I think it is a little bit of both. I think part of me realized that the average woman doesn't necessarily go out dolled up every day. The average woman doesn't wear like mini skirts and a crop top with fishnets every day. Very much a trans femme thing. If anything, it feels a bit more gender affirming to not be dressed up to the nines in like the most feminine outfit I can find, when instead I could just like wear a more sensible like pair of rich jeans and a crop top, which is still very feminine. It's just like not, oh, I haven't been able to wear any of this for my entire life, let me catch up in 1 year. Feminine, you know? But as a non-binary person, I do have gender dysphoria that kind of travels both ways. I hate being called a man, but I do like being called sir. I love being called pretty and being mistaken for a woman, but I hate speaking in like a feminine voice because it just doesn't make me feel comfortable. But I think because I am at potential to be viewed either as a man or woman or non-binary, all the potential pros and cons of such viewpoints affect me. For example, like my roommate, who I do love, and like this, she's generally great, but sometimes she'll dunk on short men, and I have to remind her, like, hey, I'm not a man, but as a person who presents masculine and is short, I do feel lumped into this attack, you know? And I do like that she recognizes my gender identity to the point that she doesn't feel like she's attacking me when she talks about short men like that. But I am like, hey, like, that still affects me in some way. Another way to describe it is I'm not Chinese, I'm Korean. But when COVID broke out and people were being racist against Chinese people, do you really think like racists can differentiate between Chinese people and Koreans? Not really. So like I'm not Chinese, but as a Korean I was still affected. And in the same manner that like I'm not a man, some things that affect men still affect me, even though I'm not a man. I could still be mistaken for one. And in that sense, I don't even know that I miss being masculine. I don't know how this like question popped up in my head. I feel like people don't take women and femme people seriously. And then when you've been lucky enough to be perceived as masculine, as part of the status quo, or just like passively, you become accustomed to this background layer of being taken seriously. And then as you start to lose more masculinity, it kind of feels like I've been infantilized a lot more often. And perhaps it's not the masculinity that I miss, but rather the aspect of people listening to me when I speak. As I become more androgynous, which I like, it's strange because I become less certain about like the way our people are perceiving me. People are very keen to like categorize. I believe Alan Watts didn't come up with this concept, but popularized it from Eastern philosophy. Sorry, I got distracted by a really attractive woman on my computer screen. I don't know where my notes went. But he said something along the lines of, a thing is a noun. And nouns don't exist in the natural world. Like, we created nouns. And in that same manner, people have created two sexes. I'm bound to fall into one or the other. It's bound to happen. And for me, I can never know. I'll just never really be able to know. And I think what I've discovered is that attraction shapes a huge part of it. Straight men will label me as a man because they don't want to admit that they're attracted to me. Gay men and bisexual men will be quick to be like, hey girly, hey princess, like, how you doing beautiful, how you doing pretty. Very like feminine terms. And coincidentally, also when I feel the most objectified. Interesting. Like, the men who are attracted to me, I guess it's hard to say whether like they're gay or whether they're like, it's hard. They're hard. It's interesting that like by virtue of them being attracted to me, they will then give me the opportunity to be feminine. And in doing so, are more comfortable treating me like an object. So perhaps I don't miss masculinity. Perhaps I just don't miss being treated like an object. And then with women, there's a similar thing. Like, women who are attracted to me tend to categorize me as the gender orientation that they would be attracted to. Maybe I don't miss masculinity necessarily. I think I miss being easily defined because the people around me will ascribe consistently to what they're seeing. Also, this is my cat, Gordo. He followed us home one day. Catnapper fucking loved that. But yeah, no, I think I realized it. Okay, I don't miss masculinity. This is therapy for me. This is my therapy. I guess me being a little bit bitter sometimes about not being perceived, leave my mic alone, about me not being perceived as masculine isn't because I want to be seen as masculine. It's because I am perceived as masculine and I still feel pressure to uphold certain values. Alright, cool. Great conclusions to come to. Let me know if you guys have ever had moments like these. Alright. Love you all. I think you're all lovely. Like, comment, subscribe, check out the Patreon, and I'll see you guys in the next video. No, I won't. You'll see me.